In the quiet moments of each day, when no one is watching and no one is listening, a battle takes place. A battle that will determine who you become tomorrow. It's not a battle fought in the world outside, but one that takes place in the most private of all arenas, the mind. Every thought you think plants a seed, and like any seed, it will grow into something. Either a weed that chokes your potential, or a flower that blossoms into success, strength, and peace. The garden of the mind never sleeps, it is always producing. The question is not if it will grow, but what it will grow. The person you become a year from now, 5 years from now, even 10 years from now, is being shaped this very moment by the thoughts you allow to dwell in your mind. You are quite literally building your future self, brick by brick, thought by thought. If your thoughts are filled with doubt, fear, resentment, and limitation, you are constructing a small and confined world for yourself. But if your thoughts are filled with belief, gratitude, and vision, then your world expands beyond imagination. Your mind is the control center of your destiny. Whatever commands you give it, through repetition, emotion, and belief, it will follow. Think long enough about failure, and your actions will align with failure. Think long enough about success, and you will start to move toward it naturally, almost effortlessly. The direction of your life is the direction of your dominant thoughts. Each morning you are handed a new set of hours, a blank canvas, and what you think today, what you focus on, what you dwell upon, will paint the picture of tomorrow. If you allow negativity to dominate today, tomorrow will inherit its shadow. But if you choose clarity, courage, and faith, tomorrow will reflect light, strength, and growth. The difference between those who rise and those who remain where they are is not luck, intelligence, or opportunity. It is mindset. One person sees obstacles, another sees lessons. One sees fear, another sees possibility. One keeps repeating the mistakes of yesterday, the other builds on them and moves forward. The choice is made every single day in the quiet workshop of thought. So guard your mind as you would guard your most precious treasure, for it is. Do not let the weeds of doubt and negativity take root. Feed your mind with truth, with learning, with belief in what can be, because the mind, once disciplined and directed, becomes the greatest force in shaping a life of meaning, abundance, and fulfillment. How you think today is the blueprint for your tomorrow. If you want a stronger, wiser, richer, freer future, you must think stronger, wiser, richer, and freer thoughts right now, for thought, when nurtured, becomes belief. Belief becomes action, and action, repeated with purpose, becomes destiny. In every waking hour, you are writing the story of your future with the thoughts you allow to live in your mind. Every idea you accept, every belief you nurture, every emotion you dwell upon is shaping what you are becoming. Life does not suddenly change one day because of luck or chance. It changes quietly, gradually, through the thoughts you choose to repeat, the attitudes you allow to guide you, and the pictures you hold in your imagination. Each day, your mind acts like a sculptor, chiseling away at who you are today to reveal who you will be tomorrow. Most people never stop to realize that the conditions of their lives are not the result of what happens around them, but what happens within them. The greatest transformations begin not with a new opportunity, but with a new thought. You become the product of your mental environment. When you wake in the morning, your mind immediately begins to search for direction. It waits for your command. You can fill it with gratitude, purpose, and clarity, or with worry, doubt, and limitation. Whatever you feed it first sets the tone for your entire day, and that day, multiplied by hundreds, becomes your life. If you wake believing the world is against you, your thoughts will find evidence to confirm it. But if you wake believing the world is filled with potential, you will find opportunities where others see nothing. The way you think about today determines what kind of tomorrow you build. Your thoughts are the invisible architects of your destiny, constructing walls, doors, and paths you cannot yet see. There is immense power in understanding that you control the soil in which your future grows. If your thoughts are rich with faith, hope, and perseverance, your results will mirror that richness. But if they are poisoned with fear, resentment, and self-pity, those same qualities will take root in your actions, your relationships, and your outcomes. Every great achievement, every extraordinary success story began as a single idea held in someone's mind long before it became visible to the world. The mind is the workshop of creation. Whatever you impress upon it with emotion and repetition must eventually express itself in your life. The difference between an ordinary day and an extraordinary one lies in what you think about during it. You can let the current of the world drag you aimlessly, reacting to circumstances, or you can take hold of your thoughts and steer them toward what you desire. Every thought of confidence strengthens you. Every thought of doubt weakens you. Each time you imagine failure, you are rehearsing it. Each time you imagine success, you are rehearsing victory. The mind does not distinguish between imagination and reality. It responds to whatever is fed to it as truth. So if you think in harmony with success, Success must move toward you just as surely as the sun rises in the east. There will always be challenges, but they are not meant to define you. They are meant to refine you. The way you think about them determines whether they build you or break you. Some see difficulty as a signal to stop. Others see it as proof that they are on the right path. The world does not reward those who think of failure, for thought is the seed of action, and action is the bridge between imagination and result. You cannot escape the law that governs this truth. What you think today, you live tomorrow. That is why it is not enough to simply hope for a better future. You must think for one. You must choose thoughts that lift you rather than weigh you down. You must replace every "I can't" with "I will." Every time you think with purpose, you align your mind with the creative forces that shape all success. Thought is the starting point of all progress, and your future self is waiting for the decisions you make in your mind today. Every thought you entertain begins a process that shapes your future in ways you cannot yet imagine. The mind is not passive, it is creative, active, and responsive. Whatever you hold within it long enough takes form in your reality. The laws of thought operate as precisely as the laws of gravity, yet few understand their power. When you fill your mind with worry and fear, you attract conditions that justify those feelings. When you fill it with faith and vision, you attract opportunities that bring them to life. Your dominant thoughts become the invisible hands guiding your actions, your words, and your circumstances. Life mirrors back to you the pictures you consistently hold in your mind. What you think, you eventually experience. What you expect, you eventually become. Most people underestimate the influence of a single thought. A passing worry about failure, if repeated, becomes a belief. That belief colors your perception, shapes your confidence, and dictates your decisions. Before long, you begin to live out the very thing you feared. But a thought of faith works in the same way. A single decision to believe in your ability can transform hesitation into movement and movement into results. The mind follows the path carved by repetition. Every time you think, you reinforce a pattern, and that pattern becomes a mental road you travel again and again until it becomes your reality. The person who guards his thoughts with care is guarding his destiny with wisdom. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. If your thoughts are disorganized, your results will be the same. If your thoughts are focused and disciplined, your life will follow that order. Success begins when you take command of your mind and direct it toward what you want instead of what you fear. You cannot think one way and live another for long. Sooner or later, your actions align with your thoughts. Every goal, every breakthrough, every act of courage begins as a thought conceived in the silence of the mind. The dreamers, the innovators, the leaders of every age were once ordinary people who disciplined their thoughts to hold on to a vision greater than their circumstances. If you think thoughts of growth, you grow. If you think thoughts of limitation, you shrink. Your mind is always building something, and you are the architect who decides what that will be. You can build walls that confine you or doors that open new possibilities. The choice is made in the thoughts you dwell upon day after day. You are constantly instructing your subconscious mind what to believe, what to seek, and what to create. It does not question, it obeys. It accepts whatever you give it as truth and begins shaping your behavior, perception, and outcomes accordingly. When you think with clarity and purpose, the subconscious becomes your greatest ally, moving unseen forces in your favor. It is impossible to rise above the quality of your thoughts. No one can think poorly and live richly. No one can dwell in negativity and expect peace. Every advancement in life begins with a shift in thinking. When you change your thoughts, you change your direction. When you elevate your thinking, you elevate your results. You do not need to wait for circumstances to improve before you think positively. You think positively so that circumstances improve. Every thought sets in motion an unseen chain of cause and effect that returns to you multiplied. The person who learns to master their thoughts learns to master their future. And mastery begins with awareness. Awareness of what you allow to live in your mind, because what lives there today will become your reality tomorrow. The direction of your life is determined by the direction of your thoughts. Whatever you allow your mind to dwell upon becomes the path your feet will follow. The world around you may appear to shape your future, but in truth, it is your inner world that decides how you respond, how you act, and how far you rise. Every moment, your mind is creating patterns, habits, and expectations that quietly steer your destiny. You cannot think in one direction and move in another for long. Sooner or later, thought and action become one. The person who fills his mind with defeat, failure, and fear is unknowingly building the road that leads to them. But the one who fills his mind with faith, confidence, and determination is paving the way to success. The process begins subtly. A single thought held long enough becomes belief. Belief becomes attitude. Attitude becomes behavior, and behavior becomes habit. Habits form character, and character shapes destiny. This chain is unbreakable, and it all starts with thought. The seeds of tomorrow's success or failure are being sown in the soil of your mind right now. That is why it is not enough to merely wish for a better life. You must think for a better life. Every achievement you desire must first be created in the imagination before it can exist in the physical world. The mind is the builder, and it constructs according to the blueprints you provide through your thoughts. Every great change in life begins with a change in thinking. When you think higher, you act higher. When you think small, you remain small. People often believe that success belongs to those who are lucky or born with advantages, but more often, it belongs to those who discipline their minds to think in alignment with what they want rather than what they fear. You cannot build a palace while thinking in the language of poverty. You cannot achieve greatness while dwelling on mediocrity. The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your outcomes. Your thoughts not only shape your actions but also attract the conditions that match them. When you think thoughts of opportunity, your eyes begin to notice opportunities where others see nothing. When you think thoughts of gratitude, you draw to yourself more reasons to be grateful. The mind acts like a magnet, pulling toward you the people, ideas, and circumstances that align with its dominant state. You are constantly broadcasting energy through your thoughts, and the world responds to that signal with precision. Those who think in harmony with success naturally move toward it because their inner world and outer world work together in rhythm. What most people call fate is often just the echo of their own thinking. A person who constantly complains about lack will continue to attract it because they feed it energy through their focus. Another person who keeps their attention fixed on growth and improvement will find progress because that is the frequency their mind operates on. The mind cannot create abundance while entertaining thoughts of scarcity. It cannot create peace while harboring thoughts of anger. Whatever dominates your mental atmosphere will eventually dominate your reality. The secret lies in daily discipline. You must train your mind to think constructively, to direct its focus toward what you want rather than what you fear. You must become aware of the stories you repeat to yourself, because those stories become the script of your future. The thoughts you nurture today are not fleeting. They are instructions to your subconscious mind, commands that shape who you will become. Every thought, repeated with emotion, becomes a force that molds your behavior and builds your world. To change your life, you must change your thoughts, because thought is the beginning of every creation, the starting point of every transformation, and the foundation of every destiny. Each day presents you with a silent invitation to choose the direction of your life, and that choice begins in the mind. The thoughts you think today set the tone for every decision, every response, and every action you take. They determine how you see yourself, how you interpret the world, and how you handle the challenges that arise. Most people live unaware that their thinking patterns are shaping their destiny moment by moment. They allow old fears, past failures, and limiting beliefs to dominate their inner world, not realizing that by doing so, they are creating more of the same. The power to change your life does not lie in external conditions, but in the thoughts you choose to hold. Your thoughts are the architects of your emotions, and your emotions influence your behavior. A thought of doubt produces hesitation. Hesitation leads to inaction, and inaction creates stagnation. But a thought of belief produces confidence. Confidence creates movement, and movement generates progress. The cycle begins and ends in the mind. The direction of your life is not determined by chance, but by the consistency of your thinking. The people who achieve the most are not those who never struggle, but those who think constructively, even in struggle. They see every setback as information, not as defeat. They maintain their focus on solutions instead of problems. If you spend your days thinking about what you lack, you will reinforce feelings of limitation. If you think about what you can do, what you have and what is possible, you open the door to growth. The mind cannot hold two opposing ideas at once. One must dominate. So if you fill it with hope, determination, and vision, there will be no room for fear and discouragement. Every time you allow a negative thought to take root, it begins to influence your perception. You start to see through the lens of that thought, and your actions follow accordingly. But when you consciously choose to think in alignment with your goals, your perception shifts, and your actions begin to support your vision. There is no greater discipline than learning to govern your own thoughts. To do so requires awareness. Awareness of what you are thinking, why you are thinking it, and what that thought is creating in your life. Most people never question their thinking, they simply accept it as truth. Yet every belief began as a single thought repeated enough times to feel real. You can change any belief by replacing the thought that sustains it. The mind is like a field. Whatever you plant will grow. You cannot plant weeds of worry and expect a harvest of peace. You cannot plant seeds of doubt and expect confidence. The soil does not discriminate. It simply returns what is planted. When you begin to take control of your thoughts, everything changes. Your conversations become more intentional, your actions more decisive, and your outcomes more consistent. You stop reacting to life and start directing it. You realize that external circumstances only reflect your internal state, and by changing your inner dialogue, you influence everything around you. You become calmer, more focused, more creative. You begin to act out of purpose instead of pressure. You start to attract opportunities that resonate with your mindset, because the world always mirrors back the energy you project. Every person who has achieved something remarkable began by thinking differently. They trained their minds to see potential where others saw obstacles. They replaced self-doubt with self-direction. They refused to let temporary circumstances define permanent beliefs. Thought, when directed with clarity and conviction, becomes a force of creation. It builds momentum, it draws support, and it shapes the invisible into the visible. The thoughts you choose to dwell on today are the materials from which your tomorrow will be built, and whether that tomorrow is one of growth or decline depends entirely on the quality of those thoughts. The mind is the most powerful tool you possess, yet it is also the most easily neglected. It operates constantly, shaping your emotions, guiding your behavior, and creating the conditions of your life, whether you realize it or not. Every moment, your thoughts are forming patterns that lead you towards success or away from it. You cannot escape the influence of your thinking, because your thoughts set the boundaries of what you believe is possible. When you think in limitation, you live in limitation. When you think in growth, you live in growth. The future is not something that arrives suddenly. It is something you are constructing through the ideas you hold in your mind right now. Every successful person begins with the decision to master their thinking. They understand that life is a mirror reflecting their dominant state of mind. When they think with purpose, they act with purpose. When they think in confusion, their actions follow in confusion. The world does not respond to wishful thinking. It responds to consistent thinking. The mind, when disciplined, becomes the greatest ally. It begins to filter out distractions and align every part of your being toward a single goal. But when left undirected, it becomes your greatest enemy, creating obstacles where none exist and magnifying fears that have no basis in reality. The way you think today is either constructing your path forward or reinforcing the walls that hold you back. Your thoughts are not isolated events. They are creative impulses that influence the invisible forces of your environment. When you think in terms of abundance, gratitude, and opportunity, you send out signals that attract similar energy. People are drawn to your confidence and clarity because they sense harmony in your mental attitude. But when you dwell in fear, anger, or resentment, you attract experiences that match that vibration. The energy you project determines the results you receive. This is not mere philosophy. It is the law of cause and effect operating through thought. Every emotion, every decision, every result begins as an idea. You cannot think thoughts of failure and live a life of success. You cannot fill your mind with self-doubt and expect confidence to emerge. The mind cannot hold conflicting patterns without confusion. That is why discipline is essential. You must choose your thoughts the same way an artist chooses colors for a painting. Each one adds to the picture of your life. Each one influences the final masterpiece. Every time you choose to think constructively, you are building momentum toward achievement. Every time you choose negativity, you are undoing progress. The responsibility lies entirely within you. No one else can think for you, and no one else can create the vision that will guide your steps. The mind does not care what you believe. It will create in exact accordance with your dominant thought. If you constantly think about lack, it will make you aware of every reason you do not have enough. If you constantly think about growth, it will reveal opportunities to expand. You move in the direction of your most frequent thoughts. The person who realizes this begins to think with intention. They do not allow random emotions to dictate their state. They observe their thinking, correct it when necessary, and feed it with ideas that serve their purpose. Over time, this awareness becomes habit, and habit becomes character. Every achievement, every breakthrough, every transformation begins in the privacy of thought. The world you live in is an echo of the world within you. If your inner world is calm, focused, and purposeful, your outer world will reflect that order. If it is scattered and uncertain, the same will appear in your circumstances. You become what you repeatedly think about because thought is creative energy. It molds, directs, and designs the fabric of your destiny. To rise higher, you must think higher. For the life you desire tomorrow depends entirely on the thoughts you nurture today. Every day begins as an empty page, and the ink that writes upon it is your thought. Long before any result takes shape in the physical world, it is formed in the quiet chambers of the mind. What you think, you become. What you dwell upon, you move toward. The future is not a distant event waiting to happen. It is a living process unfolding through the direction of your thoughts in this very moment. Each idea, each belief, each vision you entertain is a force that draws into your life the conditions that match it. The thoughts you allow to take root today will bloom into the reality you will walk through tomorrow. Your mind is the soil of creation, and it makes no judgment about the seeds you plant. If you sow seeds of fear, they will grow. If you sow seeds of confidence, they will grow as well. The soil does not ask what you meant to plant. It simply gives life to what you place within it. That is why every successful person understands the importance of thinking with intention. They do not allow their minds to be gardens of weeds. They cultivate thoughts of purpose, vision, and faith because they know that whatever dominates the mind must manifest itself in time. The world outside is a mirror reflecting the inner world of thought, and that reflection is shaped moment by moment. When you look closely at those who have achieved greatness, you will find that they think differently long before they live differently. They picture success when others picture difficulty. They hold faith when others hold doubt. They focus on what can be controlled rather than what cannot. This mental discipline does not happen by accident. It is the result of practice, of refusing to let random thoughts occupy valuable space in the mind. Each morning, you have the power to decide what kind of world you will live in by deciding what kind of thoughts you will allow to guide you. The thoughts you choose are the blueprints of your actions, and your actions are the builders of your destiny. The person who neglects their thinking lives at the mercy of circumstance, but the one who directs their thinking begins to master life itself. Your thoughts act like magnets, pulling toward you the people, opportunities, and outcomes that harmonize with your mental state. Think in terms of possibility, and your world expands. Think in terms of limitation, and it contracts. The difference between a day filled with frustration and a day filled with progress often comes down to a single shift in thinking. The same problem viewed through a different thought becomes an opportunity. The same failure viewed through a different belief becomes a lesson. The mind determines the meaning of every experience, and meaning determines your future behavior. There is a quiet strength that comes from knowing you control the direction of your thoughts. When you choose to focus on growth, gratitude, and persistence, your energy changes. You begin to act with purpose rather than reaction. You begin to notice possibilities that were invisible before. You carry yourself differently because your thoughts shape your posture, your words, your presence. Everything in life moves from the invisible to the visible, from thought to form, from idea to experience. The way you think about yourself and your world determines what kind of world responds to you. Every thought carries the power to build or destroy, to heal or harm, to expand or confine. The thoughts you repeat today become the habits of mind that form your character, and your character becomes the foundation of your future. You cannot escape the responsibility of thought, for it is the beginning of everything. Every great journey begins with a single step, and every step begins with a single thought. The quality of those thoughts decides the quality of the path ahead, and the person you are becoming is being shaped right now by what you choose to think about most.